Are you going to be distracted? Okay. Okay. Cool. This is real. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be short. I'm just kind of angry right now. Understandably so, I think. All right. Yep.
So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Alright, well, despite me having sort of accidentally had a slightly hot mic earlier because I am currently rather annoyed. And here's why. I don't know if you can see this right now, but what Dakota and TD and Erica and I are all seeing right now is my debate opponent live on his channel this second. Not watching the live chat because he's taking questions from some obscure server after we messages several times about him being here. So he knew about it. We had a 22 comment or something discussion about it. I sent him my email days ago. Yeah, he's live on his channel. And yeah, let's take a listen to just a little bit of it. Let's see what's going on.
Term called genetic entropy.
There we go.
You see, in order for evolution to work, you have to ask yourself, what is the power source? What is the engine that drives evolution? Okay, most people are going to tell you mutation.
So yeah, for some reason, MrBATMAN, Corporal Anon says for $5, sorry for getting your last stream demonetized. Sad. Ooh. Thanks, Skeleton.
Ooh.
Appreciated. Yeah. Hey, Steve. Yeah, but right now I'm gonna keep it to the 4. I think TD Lane is probably gonna end up having to go soon, so I might grab in another person. So,
very briefly, Dapper, for those of you out there, oh wait, you guys can still hear MrBATMAN prattling on in the background. For those of you out there who are curious, I'm trying to find the Christianity Level 2 Discord, which is allegedly the Discord that he's on. If anybody gets there before me, because I'm inept at finding Discords, evidently, please feel free to get into that Discord and ask why MrBATMAN has decided to waste Dapper and I's time this afternoon.
And all of your time. That's another thing. It's not just our time, right? There are some 33 people here. I imagine more people will probably end up showing up. That's pretty typical. And he's wasting your time too.
Well, and the thing about it is that, you know, if you can't make something like this, that's one thing. If you forget about it, that's one thing too. But the thing is that it's just incredibly, in my opinion, disrespectful of and inappropriate, frankly, to waste everyone's time when you've agreed to a time and a place. Everybody makes mistakes, sure, and maybe once we get a hold of him, if he happens to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I totally forgot, it'll be a different story. But I don't know how you forget about a previous obligation and then also just go live. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, when he clearly has notifications from YouTube as well as now his own personal Discord server. So, yeah, he should be here. He knows about it. I was trying to schedule it for yesterday, but he said, oh, no, I'm observing the Sabbath. So I made sure to send it well before sundown on Friday that he needed to email me. And we'd been talking for at least a week and a half. So, yeah, I don't believe that he forgot about this. Yeah. So what I'm planning on doing right now is I'm going to say he gets one more chance to come on. And we're not going to take any nonsense if he is on. There's not going to be any, there's not going to be any kitty glove stuff. It's going to be, you were extremely disrespectful by wasting everyone here's time. And so, not okay. So we're gonna actually have the discussion under question. There's not gonna be any of this nonsense about you running to Origins or Bust or any of that crap. And you don't like that, you can take a hike, because quite frankly, wasting all of our time twice isn't okay. And I want to say there's a couple of super chats. So Anamorphic Mind for $5 says, please take my Monopoly money. Okay, thank you. And Vandalia1998 says, can we have a sneak peek of your debate? And Erica, how's your moderator skills coming? Oh, Erica, her moderator skills are already great, right?
I would hope that my moderator skills are at least all right, but we'll see. I mean, I'm honestly not in the great mood to be taking nonsense today. I believe I might be in the chat. We'll see. Bat cave.
So,
Oh yeah, Jews have been kicked out of 109 countries.
Oh yeah.
Might have to mute that. Yeah, thanks. All right, so actually, one thing I might be able to do is actually, I can probably give you my opening statement. Does that seem like a good idea, guys?
Yeah.
So I'll do the I'll give you guys what my opening statement was going to be. Now, if you've seen my Kent Hovind debate, it's going to be similar to that, right? So I mean, there is that. Give me a second. It's in my Google Slides, and Google Slides is being a jerk. So sorry about that. Yeah, Slides. Let me log in.
While we have this dead air, when we were off air, like I was on mute, but I was listening to Dapper, Dakota, and Erica just like get fucking pissed.
Hey.
Sorry.
All right, that's it. From now on, anyone else who drops one, $10 super chatter. You got to get out of the stream.
Let me just.
All right. So let's see. Josiah Sanson for $2 said, "I wanted to watch a crushing." Then he's got the little snort emoji. Boo, you bat brain. Yeah. I wanted to do a crushing. Quite frankly. And then for $1.99 from Author J Disco, if you get him, go for the throat dapper. No mercy. Yeah, there's not going to be. I'm not going to be explicitly rude, but I'm also not going to spend any time. Yeah, swear jar. I do appreciate the token swear jar, but that just means that the next time you do it, it's only 8 instead of 2.
Yeah. Apologies for swearing, but
which, by the way, I now have a new policy. After the first F-bomb of the stream, subsequent ones, you got to either super chat $10 to me, or I'm kicking you out of the stream because I'm tired of people threatening my monetization by ruining my PG-13 rating.
Very fair. Hey. Probably get more money from the swear jar than from the monetization.
So you know what? Let's just go through this right here. So I'm gonna add this here, and we're just gonna go through on this mode. Like I'm just cycle through, right?
Yeah.
So,
dude, I was actively venting when you guys were getting angry at Mr.
Oh, I mean, I don't blame you.
I was playing Day of Infamy, pretty fast paced, but now I'm actively angry because I listen to him like he's wasting your time.
Oh, hey. I'm not going to give out any of Mr. Batman's information. I will, however, say that he did publicly give out some of his information recently on his channel. So there you go. I'm not giving it out, but if you want to go there and ask him, feel free. I will say he has his phone set to voicemail right now. Oh, there's Corporal Anon says, guilty, ooh, take it, I love you for 5, thank you very much. Alright, so let's just go through my opening as it would have been had the debate actually happen. And by the way, Erica, of course, was here to moderate for me, because she is a great moderator. Oh yeah. And Dakota and TV Lane would not normally have been here for this, because, it's a debate. We only really need 3 people, a moderator and the debaters. But since it's not a debate, it's, well, we got a bit of the game coming on. So, alright. We got, did birds evolve from dinosaurs? A supposed debate with Dapper Dinosaur and Mr. Batman. Alright, here's what I was not planning to argue. I'm not arguing that there is no God. I'm not even arguing that abiogenesis is naturalistic. I'm not even going to argue that the genetic code was not invented. In fact, I'm willing to concede any of those points, just for the sake of argument. There's a God, sure he created life, sure he created the genetic code. I don't care. For the purposes of this debate. Those are all interesting questions, and, you know, I'm not one to really know much about abiogenesis, but I do think it's interesting, and I think that maybe Dr. Dan or maybe someone who's a bit more chemistry-oriented could do that. I'm much more into things like, you know, anatomy and morphology and things. But anyway, so I was going to go into birds are archosaurs. So birds have two temporal fenestrae, just like all archosaurs do. Those are the key characteristics for archosaurs. Birds have an antorbital fenestra. They have a pedal process of the maxilla that meets in the midline, which actually is very easy to see on any dinosaur skull you happen to take a look at. Just look inside the roof of the mouth. It's pretty cool. The birds lack a parietal foramen, which is a big feature that you see in especially basal lepidosaurimorphs, but also just generally even many of the adult forms. But archosaurs don't have that, neither do birds. Birds also have beta keratin, like their crocodilian archosaur cousins, unlike most other animals. They also have thecodont teeth when birds had teeth. Now, I don't know to what degree MrBATMAN would accept that toothed birds were birds. Maybe he would say that they were all just non-bird dinosaurs. I don't know. I actually hesitate to call such animals actual birds because I tend to prefer keeping the word bird to basically crown bird, which would exclude these forms. But most people, including most creationists, would call these birds, and they had thecodont teeth, just like all archosaurs with teeth. Which is important because the lepidosaurimorpha side of Diapsida, they have pleurodont teeth. The teeth grow from a little groove. They also have a fourth trochanter on the femur, which you can see on the left in a Cryptosaurus femur, and on the right in a Cathartus aura femur, which, by the way, is the turkey vulture. Sorry, which is an animal I used to see all the time because living in Massachusetts when I did, they were all over the place there. So, but birds aren't just archosaurs; they're dinosaurs. One of the ways we can tell is a crocodile reverse ankle. So if you look down at the bottom, you'll see on the right we have a crocodile reverse ankle, where the astragalus and the calcaneum form, they don't really move against each other, they just form a little hinge-like surface that the rest of the pes can rotate around. And so the foot only can swing in one direction. It can't rotate around like your foot, it can only go back and forth. Now this might seem like a disadvantage for dinosaurs, and in some ways it is. It causes less flexibility. But the thing is that flexibility comes at the cost of energy use and ease of injury. One of the reasons that humans can do things like roll our ankles and, you know, sprain ankle tendons and stuff so easily is because we're flexible. If we had rigid ankle joints like a dinosaur or a bird who have identical ankle joints, essentially, we would almost never have that injury. So, I don't know, maybe that would be worth the trade. It certainly was for the dinosaurs. But other archosaurs, and in fact most other animals, can have an ankle joint where the astragalus and the calcaneum do in fact interface against each other and can move relative to each other. And so we have the crocodile reverse ankle like other archosaurs. Also, one of the characteristics of dinosaurs is having more than 3 sacral vertebrae, which is vertebrae in the hip, and having a synsacrum, which is this solid structure that you see on both the top and the bottom on the right. The top one is actually of an unidentified passerine, but that's a songbird, right? Like a sparrow or a finch or something. And on the bottom, we have Chasmosaurus, which is a sauropod. Now, this synsacrum refers primarily to the sacral arches and the vertebra. The actual ischium and ilium of various dinosaurs, including birds, varied considerably. But as you can see, at least in this dorsal view, they are extremely similar. And there's a reason for that. Alright, so continuing on, one of the most important identifying features of dinosaurs that birds share is an open acetabulum. That's this hole where the femur sockets in. So at the top of your hip, where your femur goes into your hip, that's your acetabulum. Only in dinosaurs do we have this open hole there where you can just see right through to the other side. And birds have that, unlike all other reptiles. So birds are significantly tied to dinosaurs by all of the things that make dinosaurs dinosaurs. If you define a dinosaur, Included in that definition would be birds. So, but more specifically than that, birds are theropods. They're not just any old dinosaur, they're specifically theropods. One of the ways we know is that theropods had furcula. In fact, even some very, very early theropods have had furcula discovered. Pictured here is a furcula of a Tyrannosaurus rex. We also know they had a locked radius and ulna, like all theropods that we know of. They couldn't take their hands and pronate or supinate them very well. They might have been able to supinate a little bit better, but pronation is basically when you take your hand and you stick it straight out, so your palm is, if you take your hands and your palms are facing each other, that's sort of the neutral pose. But if you turn your palms so they face the ground, that's pronation. Theropods couldn't do that with their arms sticking out like that. Their palms were locked facing each other, just like modern birds in that same position. We also know that many theropods, and as well as many other dinosaurs, including some of the sauropods, the big long-necked dinosaurs, also had the air sac system of pneumatic air sacs both in the torso and in the limbs, which is what actually powers the unidirectional breathing system of birds. And while I don't have it as a point on the slide, we now know that unidirectional breathing is actually not unique to dinosaurs or birds. It actually occurs in several lineages across Diapsida, which is more or less the reptiles. There's also the matter of the semi-lunate carpal, which means the half-moon-shaped wrist bone. It's what allows birds and many advanced Maniraptoran dinosaurs to fold the side of their hand against their upper arm. Flat. You couldn't possibly do that if you tried. You might be able to get, like, I don't know, like a 70-degree angle between the two, but they can close that gap, and that is a feature unique to this group of Maniraptoran dinosaurs. Alright, well, what about feathers and scales? Because that's a pretty big separating point. Well, it's not as big as you would think, because birds do in fact have scales. If you just look at a bird's feet, you're going to see lots of tiny little bump-like scales, which are in structure almost identical to pretty much all of the skin impressions we have with scales from dinosaurs. They're called reticulate scales. It's the default dinosaur scale kind. But again, both the scales and the feathers are made of beta keratin, which is important because not everything with keratin uses beta. Most things use alpha. They both also grow from placodes. A placode is just a thickening of the skin, and in most reptiles, it then develops into a thick, hardened scale. But using the same genes and only different regulatory signals, you can get the scales of an alligator, as seen in this picture on the left, to grow into feather-like structures on the right. Alligators will grow feathers if given the right signals, especially using retinoic acid and beta-catenin. So yeah, we've now managed to grow feathers on an alligator. Alright. Also, Archaeopteryx isn't the only feathered dinosaur out there. We've also got, just pictured here, we've got Anchiornis, Xenuanlong, Caudipteryx, Sinoscalopteryx, Sinornithosaurus, Sinosauropteryx, and Eutyrannus, and feather details from Culindrodromius. Now, there is an argument to be made that at least Caudipteryx might be a bird, but all the other ones are definitely not birds. Absolutely 100% not birds. In fact, Eutyrannus is a tyrannosaur. It's not very closely related to Tyrannosaurus, but it is still a tyrannosaur. It's the same thing that you might call in the same kind.
Dapper, I heard from Alan Fiducia that they're just birds.
Well, yeah, Alan, we're going to get to Alan Fiducia right now. So, Alan Fiducia, he says that these feathers were just collagen fibers. Well, these feathers contain detailed branching patterns that are inconsistent with preserved collagen. You don't get collagen with complex distal branches moving away from the body. That's not how collagen forms. You also tend not to get collagen with veins and a rachis and veins coming out, like in a feather. So, no. Also, collagen doesn't have melanosomes, but many preserved feathers do, which is why I've included this picture of Microraptor, because we know it was mostly black because we found preserved melanosomes from the obviously avian feathers everywhere across its body. And in fact, we even found microstructures that indicate that it was iridescent, much like a modern crow. Alright, and further, we can even tell if the melanin in the feathers was black or rufous. Now, rufous is the kind of color that you see on like a robin's breast, right? You get a male robin and has that red breast. That's mostly due to rufous melanin. Rufous melanin is a reddish-brown, sort of rusty color. And we can tell the difference in electron scanning microscopes between black melanin and rufous melanin. And that's why we know that this animal, Sinosauropteryx, actually more or less look like this, because we have extensive integument covering for it with the preserved melanosomes. So we know that dinosaurs had feathers. We even know in some cases what color they were, or at least approximately what color they were, including iridescence in some cases. Now, a common objection that I hear, it's kind of a silly objection, but we hear it, is, oh, you think Tyrannosaurus evolved into a bird? And the answer is no, for numerous reasons. Tyrannosaurus is not in the right group of coelurosaurs to be a viable bird ancestor, and you can see that on this cladogram, where Tyrannosaurus is way on the other side of Coelurosauria from the Humaniraptora, way on the right, which is where you're actually getting your birds emerging. Other organisms such as Velociraptor and Troodon are much, much closer to birds, and Creationist's favorite, quote, archaeoornithologist thinks that they are birds, despite being obvious dinosaurs. So yeah, Alan Fiducia is so crazy that he would actually call all of these animals birds, including Tyrannosaurus. So when Creationists cite him, you better be ready to say Tyrannosaurus is just a bird. Also, birds evolved in the mid-Jurassic, not the late Cretaceous when T-Rex is found, so again, no, T-Rex could not have evolved into a bird, and no one who is knowledgeable and serious about this subject would say that it did. Alright, and here's where I let my erstwhile opponent know how to beat me. Well, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is, if you can prove that birds don't have the characteristics I say they do in this presentation, well then, I guess they're not dinosaurs. Or if you can find characteristics from a different taxon outside of Dinosauria, for example, if they found a dinosaur with a bird, with a parietal foramen, or a blastopore that becomes the mouth, not only would that disprove birds being dinosaurs, it would go a long way towards just disproving common descent as a whole. So, I mean, that would be great, right? If you're a creationist. And, yeah, that's basically my opening. It was a little bit more in detail than I was planning on for the actual debate, just because, well, there's no time constraint, so... Yeah, and I just want to say that while I was doing that, we did get a super chat that I did not read out, so give me 1 second. And it is from Jerry Penna, who says, for $4.99, who says... Oh, yep. Oh, I can't hear you.
I was just going to tell you that we did find... Oh, can you not?
Oh,
wait, can you not hear me?
I can hear you now. Oh, but now I can't. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, listen, we just got...
I think you're having
what's going on?
You're having an audio-video sync problem, I think. Can you turn your video off for a bit?
Yes, hold on.
Okay.
Okay, better?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Hold on, let me just exit out of this real fast. Okay, so if you can hear me, we did get confirmation that MrBATMAN has acknowledged that he has forgotten about this debate.
Oh.
And he's just super old. That's what he's saying over on his channel.
I feel like there's a response to this. Sounds to me like he's making stuff up.
That's entirely possible. I would not actually put
and
that
that's not science.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Are you still on there? If you wouldn't mind sending a message, since I'm not going to do it physically with Keyword right now. But if you would like to send a message back, feel free to let him know that he was reminded on Friday, early in the morning.
All right, hold on. I'm actually not in, and I heard from someone else. I never have gotten into it yet. I can't figure out which one it is.
Oh, well, then never mind.
But
well, he
whoever
is
in there,
the YouTube comment strings.
This whole
oh,
time
did he
in
really?
chat, Steve's been going and basically saying what MrBATMAN would say.
All right. Well, I want to read out this this super chat real quick, and it says it's from Jerry Penna, and it says, "Because you're brilliant and I enjoy your content." Well, thank you very much, Jerry. I really appreciate that $4.99 super chat. It really does actually mean a lot that you guys are even here for a no-show debate. So that actually does mean a lot to me. So for those of you who are just joining, give me a second. I will let you know, because some people are still asking, hey, where's MrBATMAN? That seems odd. How come MrBATMAN isn't here? It's because this is what's going on his channel. Yep. He is currently live streaming an AMA, and his excuse is, I'm sorry, I forgot I was old. Now, I reminded him on Friday morning. Why did I do this on Friday morning? Because the reason we're not debating yesterday, or didn't debate yesterday, I don't know what tense to use, is because he observes the Sabbath, and I respect that. So I let him know on Friday morning, hey, you need to email me. And then I tried to call him today 3 times, and I got voicemail each time. I did leave a voicemail, though. So, I guess he's just gone offline. There you go. So, basically, we had a little bit of planning before this on what to do if something like that happened. So, one thing we had in mind was taking a look at a little live stream that AIG did, which I already live debunked in their chat, and we could talk about that a little bit. We could also, I mean, we could just shut it down and say, well, that's a loss, because you know, MrBATMAN was a no-show, and the best excuse he can come up with is, oh, sorry, I forgot, even though he was reminded, and I called him and left voicemail. So, oh, I'm not debating him later on today.
Yeah, there's
Sorry.
Yeah, in my opinion, there's no excuse for this, you know?
No. I will give him... I will let him come on the channel one more time, or at least give him the opportunity one more time. If he decides to show up, then that's fine. If he doesn't, then I'm just done with him. And whoever it was that told me that he would destroy me, he won't even bother to come on. So, if that's what you consider destroying me, then okay, fine. Oh wait, I do take it as a win, Mothra Day Disco. It's just an annoying one. It's winning in like the worst way. You know, it's like, it really is. It's a forfeit, and forfeits aren't fun. You know, you don't go. People don't play baseball for the forfeits. Sure, they go down as a win on your.
MrBATMAN's in the chat.
Oh, MrBATMAN's in my chat.
MrBATMAN is in the chat.
Ah, you did not
Here he
have.
is.
I did not have you done. I mean, maybe you mean down. Well, MrBATMAN, here is what's going on. I will give you another chance on another day to come by. We'll pick another Sunday afternoon, I guess it is for you, or evening. I don't know. I think maybe your East Coast time. It doesn't matter. You don't have to tell me. I know that we scheduled an East Coast, but I don't want to tell people exactly where you are if you don't want them to know. But I am taking this right now as a forfeit, and if you would like to redeem that forfeit, or at least go 1 for 1 or 1 for 2, which is basically what it would be, let me know. You have my email. You technically even have my phone number, although chances are I barely pick up my phone, so it's not very reliable. Yeah, we'll see if we can actually have this. You already have my opening statement, so feel free to look it over if you want. So, but I do appreciate you showing up in the chat an hour and a half late after you were reminded on Friday. And I left that voicemail with you. So.
MrBATMAN says, LOL, I could not care less. Okay, well, then why'd you bother showing up anyways here?
Why?
Just now.
Yeah, why did you feel that it was a great idea to waste... What do we have now? 62 people in chat, and I guess we're not technically wasting Dakota and TD Lane's time, although they'd probably be watching, so we'll add those two in. So yeah. 64, and then me and Erica, that's 66. I mean...
So hold on, just a moment. So Batman, or rather MrBATMAN says that we can, or rather Dapper, that you can send him an email and we can schedule something. I think given MrBATMAN is the one that dropped the ball on the original scheduling, it would be up to him to come to you to reschedule it.
I'll send him
just because I get it, like accidents and mistakes happen and stuff like that, and forgetting things does happen, but usually if you're the one who did forget,
yep,
it's kind of on you to make up for that, in my opinion.
I'll tell you what, MrBATMAN, I'll drop you a quick email just to make sure that you have the email and you don't have to go fishing through your comments or whatever, or voicemail or whatever to get it. So that way you can just open your inbox and it'll be right there and you can hit reply. But if you want to schedule it, that'll be on you. Because quite frankly, I'm just taking this as a you forfeited the debate. You say you forgot, maybe you did. I reminded you twice. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. So, I was told that you would destroy me, and apparently, it actually reminds me of all the flat Earth debates that people have been trying to have. You know what I mean? Where they just don't show up more than half the time. Young Earth creationism is getting more and more like flat Earth as the days go by. Not that it was ever very much not like Young Earth or flat Earth. I mean, come on, Young Earth creationism is just as plausible as the flat Earth, so no big deal there.
Creationism is just flat Earth with more traction.
Well, without the flat Earth part, it's not literally flat Earth, but yeah, they're more or less intellectual equals. So yeah, I got it. It's Jim at MrBATMAN.com. I will drop a quick email to you.
Fraudulous is requesting the debunk of the AIG stream.
Oh, you guys want? Tell you what, put one in the chat if you actually want to see me go through some of that AIG debunk. Because the fun thing about it is that I live debunked it in their live chat. We're gonna get to see that as we go. So that's the cool thing, because I was there live. Oh, that's right, RJM Truth. He did destroy me by doing nothing. That's the point. Yeah. Oh, you think he was responding to a comment in chat when he said I couldn't care less? I mean, that might be. If that's the case, then I apologize, Mr. Batman, for asking you that question about why you thought it was okay to waste all of our times. If that's the case, my apologies. I should have been somewhat more charitable. I'm just not in a extremely charitable mood at the moment because we're wasting everyone's time at this point. I've got.
I think it's a lion slide.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a lot of. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna grab myself a quick iced tea while I grab that video up and everything. Right. So I'm gonna play the intermission video, and hopefully when I'm back, I will have a nice tall ice cold glass of iced tea. Everyone will be ready, and we can jump into it. We're not gonna finish it. We're not even gonna get close because you know, I'm still probably gonna cut this thing off at like what, 2:30 at the latest. So, but yeah. Are you guys okay with that? Does that seem like a good plan for the rest of you? Okay, so...
For me, yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, alright, so I'm gonna mute this and start the intermission. I want to take a moment to talk about something serious. There is a problem facing late surviving non-avian dinosaurs in modern America. Hunting is very strictly regulated, and only allowed at certain times of the year. This means that for much of the year we have to rely on farm-raised food, which means money. If you want to help a starving dinosaur, please consider donating on Patreon, or buying from my merch store. Links are in the description. Please help. Dinosaurs all over YouTube are depending on you to help them through the hunting off-season. 何誰おうこちらですかはい、ゴジラさん。はい。
Batman, where is he?
Sorry about not having the intro turned off there, guys. But we're back. Yeah, we have this is Our Bird-dinosaurs with David Menton from AIG, which was filmed at the Creation Museum back on April 24th. And the reason that I wanted to take a look at this is because if you look carefully in their actually, we'll just make it bigger. If you look carefully in their live chat, right, you might be able to see a familiar name. Can you guys see that? There's one especially at like -525.
Oh man, it's Dapper. I know.
It's me. I was there to live debunk it, so we're gonna go and have a look at this. It should be fun. Everyone make sure that you can hear it when we start playing it, but turn the sound on.
Ending of the times.
The one positive of AIG is that we can always count on their graphics to at least be like on par.
Yeah, their production values are pretty decent. They put on a good show.
Do we have understanding of the times? Do we know what is happening in our Western world?
Oh goodness. I'm gonna start skipping through some of this. I don't know. I do not care.
Of the authority out there, proclaim that's.
Oh, they always show that intro stuff.
Yeah.
It's just some light shilling.
Why is it so small? Oh, okay.
Oh, because if we don't.
Like below.
Hello, I'm David Menton. I'm
Well, if I don't show. Oh yeah, why is it inset like that? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. Like, why wouldn't they just go full screen? My guess is because whoever's producing is just bad at their job. Not that I'm great at it, but.
Oh, we love Dr. Menton, the local anatomist, our of course expert in all things paleontology.
Is this the same guy? Oh, right. Aaron did the video series on this, I think, right?
Yeah, this is the same video series.
Yes.
The big difference here is that we get to not only do we get to talk about it now, we also get to see what I said about it at the time, because we can see it up on screen right now. Because I'm in the live chat, I live debunked this as it was going. Which I think is great.
Get him, Dapper.
Yep. Oh, I already got them. Get them ×2. Okay, here we go.
Like the guy from Gravity Falls. Get him. Get him. Get him.
Oh, hey, by the way, I don't know if you guys can see, but in my suggested videos for up next, Dapper Dinosaur is live.
Oh yeah, I did know that.
In case
Dinosaur.
It's not like I'm not logged in on my channel. This is my channel, but whatever.
Thanks, algorithm.
biologist here at the Creation Museum. Have a background
We love the
on
algorithm.
human anatomy
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
All hail.
I mean, to be fair, it is on topic.
Birds today, and you really
Very
can't
much
talk
so.
about birds without talking about dinosaurs, it seems these days.
I'm gonna turn it up a little bit.
We call it farm to fly.
Yeah, I can't
And
hear
one of
it.
the things we're going to address, I think, very firmly is
I'm getting 0 Menton, and you know
birds-
how I feel when I'm not getting enough Menton.
All right. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna restart the screen share just in case. And let's see. We're gonna go to Chrome tab. Share our birds
Hear
dinosaurs.
sweet succulent
Birds
voice.
dinosaurs. Here we go. Try it again.
really dinosaurs.
What did you
probably
just
heard
say was sweet and succulent?
Menton's sweet succulent voice.
Tell you what, T Lane, you.
I would literally put any other word in the English dictionary to
Moist.
describe.
All right, here we go.
That they are.
Right.
Everybody is saying that birds aren't
Can you hear it?
extinct. They're feeding
I
on
can
our
hear it.
bird feeders even as we speak. Is that really true?
Yes.
I think
Yes,
we
it
need to
is,
put
yes.
our critical
Yeah.
caps on and
Yeah, I know.
look
I
into
felt
whether, is it true that birds really are dinosaurs as so many claim them to be? For me, the answer is pretty clear, and it's pretty simple. No.
No. Okay, let's
I
hear your
don't think they
reasons.
are. I get open for questions
I'm
right
going
now,
to
but I
1.2.
suspect
I'm
you
going to a faster
want a
speed
little
than
bit
this.
more
This guy
than that.
talks like a snail.
What's so special about birds? Why are they so different, not only from dinosaurs,
There
but
we
everything
go.
else
That's
that
more
isn't
tolerable.
a bird? Here's a short list. What's unique about birds? Tremendous amount of bone fusion. If you look at the skeleton of all vertebrates, there's a great deal of bone fusion. We have many more bones in our body when we were in the womb than we do out of the womb, because many of those bones that were separate in the womb are together. So our human body has about 206, 207 bones, depending on certain state of fusion. Birds have so many fused bones
Does-
that a chicken ends up with about
Dapper,
100.
does he have the way they breath?
Does he have what?
The way they breath?
Oh, does he?
On
way
his-
that-
The
What's
way they,
unique
br-
about-
the way they breathe. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
The-
you're right.
the
There should be.
anatomy,
Yeah.
I
He misspelled it. That's great.
oof.
Also, there's something interesting to be said about bone fusion. Like, how would creationism explain, or how would unique creation explain the way the bones of birds fuse? Like, how do we explain that the bones of birds during embryonic development just looks like the bones of Velociraptor, like the foot bones?
It's. I mean, it's just a coincidence, man.
Why,
Yeah.
why don't they start off fused in development?
Also, I think I missed a super chat from Josiah Hansen, which, if that's the case, I'm sorry, Josiah Hansen.
Let me go.
Oh, yeah, and this was in reference to Mr. Batman, and he said, young enough to remember when the Sabbath is, with a stroke in the chin emoji. Yeah, I know. It's, something seems off, but hey, whatever.
Big.
Alright, here we go.
20 fused bones, almost something like half of what we would have. So bone fusion is big. We'll talk about it. You've heard that birds have hollow bones. A better word is pneumatic bones. That means air flows through the bones, part of the respiratory system. Now, a lot of us have hollow bones. We human beings have pneumatic bones. Our sinus bones, the frontal sinuses, maxillary sinuses, ethmoid sinus, these are hollow, communicate with the respiratory system, but nothing like birds. Here, all of the bones in the body of the bird, almost all are pneumatic. The way that a bird balances on two legs, as you know, birds walk on two legs, and the sort of dinosaurs that are believed to have evolved into birds and also walked on two legs are called the theropods. Word basically
Convenient,
means
right?
beast foot. And if you're going to walk on two legs,
So here's one thing. So far, he's not really wrong, right? That's why I actually haven't really said anything in the live chat at this point, except to, chat with people. Oh, and yeah, for anyone who's just joining us, I've been reminded by Vandalia for $5. So can you explain your discussion to the live chat, or what's happening to the live chat? Yeah. So Mr. Batman bailed, said he forgot. I reminded him Friday, and I couldn't remind him Saturday because he observed the Sabbath, so I wasn't going to interrupt that. And instead of coming on here, he decided to go live on his own channel for an AMA for some Discord server.
Did you do that on purpose? He bailed. Mr. Batman bailed.
Yeah, not really. I didn't actually do it on
The
purpose.
inflection.
I would. Yes. Yeah.
The Christian bailed. Yes.
Yes, that's true. Mr. Batman, the Christian, bailed on the debate. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so, and not only was he live on his channel doing an AMA, he was only taking questions from some obscure Discord server that Erica can't find, and that's not his own Discord server, and he wasn't watching the live chat. So, yeah, that's fun.
Well, and let's not forget that right after he realized he'd forgotten about the debate, he bailed out of the AMA. It was right after he was on.
Also true. And then he showed up in our chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Without any I mean, he's just I forgot. It's you were reminded. I called you 3 times today on the phone.
He turned his phone off during the hangout he had, or
Yeah.
solo hangout.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I called it earlier today and left voicemail before he went live. So Yeah. Which, by the way, on his video,
We know
he
they're
posted. Yeah, he posted a video earlier today telling people to call him if they want to contact him. That was some 8 hours ago today. So
Very short-term memory.
yeah. So like I told him on air, and I'm telling anyone who's here watching now, I'll give him one more chance. I'm gonna shoot him a quick email just so he has my email, and he can arrange something with me. And he has one more chance to actually show up, and then I'm just done trying to talk to him. I meant what you're chatting about in AIG chat. Well, I don't even remember. I don't want to go through and read the whole thing. And if it's not about the David Menton thing, it's just me chatting here and there. I had a few discussions on the side about like someone was talking about Hebrew or something, and I asked some question about that, and like I talked to a few people who were I don't want to say on my side, but I'll say friendly to science about some other stuff. But yeah. But yeah, what I was saying before I started reading some super chats is that Menton's not really wrong here. These are all things that are characteristic of birds and not characteristic of other dinosaurs. But the thing is,
it depends on. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
But the thing is, it's like telling me what's characteristic about artiodactyls, the even-hoofed ungulates, and then pointing out that since not all mammals share those features, cows aren't mammals. Like, no, that's not how that works. If you want to show that something's not a dinosaur, you have to start with the dinosaur characteristics, not what's specific to that tiny little group. And it's the same all throughout the whole, tree of life, right? If I point out all the things about jellyfish, like cnidocytes and their radial symmetry, right? And say, okay, if it's got cnidocytes and radial symmetry, it's a jellyfish. And since animals, and then by which I mean all other animals, don't have both radial symmetry and cnidocytes, jellyfish aren't animals. Nope, not how it works. So while he's not wrong, he's setting he's constructing his entire argument in a completely incoherent manner.
Yeah, also the things that they will accept as birds, like Archaeopteryx, don't have all of these characteristics. They have some of them, but they don't have, like, for example, the bone fusions. Like Archaeopteryx skeleton looks pretty much typical of any dromaeosaur.
Yeah. And well, that's one of the things is that a lot of actually I don't think we're gonna get to it, but David Menton goes full Alan Fiducia in this thing and just says the Velociraptor is straight up a bird. And it's like,
really?
Yep. He's like, the Velociraptor is a bird. He says it in this video.
Yeah,
Ken Ham in the background. Wait.
Right, because Ken Ham in his Creation Museum, which is the same thing that this is attached to, the Creation Museum. This theater is in the Creation Museum. They have a dromaeosaur that's unfeathered and lizardy and looks like it just hopped right off of the set of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I say, if you just took the feathers off Archaeopteryx, they would call it a dinosaur. Well, it's really that.
There's a reason that Compsognathus has been, or Archaeopteryx fossils have been misidentified as Compsognathus, a non-bird, and probably even without pennaceous feathered dinosaurs. So yeah, let's get a little bit more in here.
Legs, you have a real problem, and that problem is balance. Did you ever try eating at a two-legged table? Boy, that's a handful. You got one hand holding the table up and the other hand you're eating with. Difference between a four-leg table, which is very stable no matter how.
And here's my first real important comment. I said, wow, pneumatic bones, because he's got that second point.
Yeah.
Just like all archosaurs, dinosaurs included. Yeah, basically.
No, it's the pseudosuchians also had hollow bones?
Oh yeah. Now, modern crocodilians have significantly reduced pneumaticity to help with, buoyancy in water.
Yeah, exactly.
But all through Archosauria, pneumaticity is characteristic of the entire group.
Yeah.
So
specifically post-cranial. Of course, our skull is also pneumatized. Yeah. But post-cranial pneumaticity is really characteristics of dinosaurs and
all through the vertebral column, all through the long bones in the limbs. I mean, extensive pneumaticity throughout all of Archosauria.
Yeah, especially the ones that fly, like pterosaurs.
Yeah. Actually, pterosaurs make birds' pneumaticity look like a pittance. I mean, pterosaurs had radiuses that were paper thin, and they were basically like a balloon. So
it's actually one of those reasons why pterosaurs don't preserve very well.
It is actually. It's a bit of a problem because their bones are so tiny, or they're not tiny, but they're just paper thin. They crush after they fossilize.
Yeah.
Put the weight on it, and a two-leg table's huge.
Interestingly enough,
so when a creature
that played light.
Okay, you see that again, Erica?
Yeah, I was just going to say that plagues all light-boned animals. That's why we have such a heavy bias towards heavy, large, like, megafauna in the fossil record.
Right. It's not because megafauna were especially common in the past, it's just that it's the same reason we get a lot of really heavy, massive planets when we're looking for exoplanets. They're easier to find. What do you want?
Yeah, like, there's a reason we have so many Triceratops skulls.
Right, because they're gigantic.
Ceratopsian skulls are gigantic and really, really thick.
Yep.
Walks on two legs. Balance is an issue, and the way birds balance on two legs is completely different than the way dinosaurs do. We'll get to that too.
No.
How they balance also impacts on the way a bird walks. No creature walks quite like a bird.
Except for all those dinosaurs.
It won't work out for you.
Yeah,
and then the whole anatomy of the shoulder girdle, the shoulder blade, the way the arms that are wings in the case of a bird, the way they attach is completely different. And then the hip bones are extraordinarily different in a bird. We'll take a look at those. And the way a bird breathes. Nothing has lungs like a bird. You realize birds have been hit by aircraft at an altitude of 37,000 feet?
Ooh.
Well, if you're up at I've been up 14,260 feet on a mountain without any oxygen support, and that was hard to breathe there, but 37,000 feet, and think of it, birds have high metabolic rates, high body core temperatures, expending a lot of energy trying to keep flying with such thin air, and birds are able to do it. I got a feeling if you put up a T-Rex at 37,000 feet to tell him to puff away, he wouldn't make it. I believe birds are the only kinds of creatures that have feathers.
And I point out here in the chat, nothing has lungs like a bird except dinosaurs and pterosaurs. Whoops. Got that one just flat wrong. Yeah.
Oops.
Also, the terms are like crocodilians also have like not like of course not the same, but they are still unidirectional airflow in their lungs.
Yeah, it's actually probable that that is the sort of basic trait for archosaurs. Also, some toxicopherans have been found with unidirectional lungs. Yeah. It's not clear to what degree varanids have, and also there's been at least one iguana observed with unidirectional breathing, which is another toxicopheran. So Iguanidae is...
the structure is slightly different.
Iguanidae is basically sister, more or less, to varanids plus serpentis, which is the snakes and the monitor lizards.
Yeah.
And,
Toxicofera.
Yeah, they're all in Toxicofera. And so it seems like that's a trait that might be basal to that group. And that group itself, we don't know to what degree that trait is then basal to other squamates, so it's not clear how far back we can bring that trait, but it's not unique in reptiles, and it's present in extant crocodilians, and it's extant, or we know it was the case in pterosaurs and dinosaurs because we have enough evidence of their soft tissue and skeletal pneumaticity to know that their breathing system worked more or less the same way a bird's does. Now, granted, there were probably some later adaptations specifically for high-performance flight in avians, but that's just, tweaking the efficiency of what's already there. It's the kind of thing that creationists would say is, oh, that's just adaptation.
Yeah. So, no new information added. No, there wasn't a foot growing out of their asses, so there's no new information.
But even if it were, they would just say, oh, that's just copying existing information.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you remember what basically the entirety of the Jungle Jargon's talk with Dan was? It was just Jungle Jargon moving goalposts.
Yeah.
That's their whole thing here.
And unlike Kent Hovind, I'll give Kent Hovind a prop on this one. When he moved the goalpost, he admitted it.
Yeah.
But Eric,
that's true. Credit where credit is due.
Right. He was honest about how intellectually dishonest he was being.
Oh, okay. Did you also remember a bit of Orange? Like when he went on Jackson Wheat's hangout, he said, "Oh, I have quote mines with me. I have quote mines."
He said, "I need to watch that hangout. I don't think I've seen that one. My goodness, that's amazing."
I need to too. God.
Okay, well, hey, I mean, I guess own it, right? If you're gonna be a quote miner, you might as well own it.
Yeah.
My goodness. All right, let's get a little bit more in here.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people disagree with me. They say dinosaurs had feathers. We'll look at an example or two of that.
We've already seen a lot of examples.
There are a lot of different creatures that are very different that fly. They're flying insects and flying mammals like bats, but birds have their own way of flying. Well, let's dig in then, and I think I can emphasize how unusual birds are by asking a question that should be obvious. The answer should be obvious. And yet this question has plagued people down through the generations. And that question is this: do penguins have knees? Haven't you thought about that a little bit? I mean, where are the knees on these little rascals? Is this a knee right here? Here or here? Where are the knees? Well, that's a good question.
I mean, no, but he's going to pretend it is.
Oh, good.
I mean, he gave actually pretty wrong, pretty bad example, because penguins are even weird compared to bird standards. Right. Like their posture is really odd. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still,
penguins are extremely unusual even among birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
the thing is classically so, they always point to the most derived version of the birds in order to draw
like he mentioned about how the way that birds balance on their legs is very different from dinosaurs. But here we have an example of a bird that balances itself very differently from all other birds.
It balances itself more like a human than it does any other bird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, if you want it to be fair, right, you'd go to things that scientists would consider the most basal birds, right? You don't have to consider the most basal if you're a creationist, like, whatever, that's fine. But what they would consider the most basal are going to be, like, your paleonates and your galloanseri, right? These are the least derived birds. So we have things like, the ostrich, the rhea, the emu, the tinamou, the cassowary, also the kiwi. So we get those birds on one. Those are some of the least derived birds. Oh, the kiwi is highly derived for secondary.
Yeah, I was about to say that you have to be careful about making it very generalized. Even basal branches, quote unquote, basal can still be derived in their own way.
Right. That's why I would say the kiwi is very derived. So maybe don't go with that one.
Yeah.
But the other ones are still very, very basal. And then you go into galloanseri, which is, your ground and your waterfowl. So we get things like chickens and ducks and geese and grouse and partridges, and I don't need to keep naming all of the waterfowl. You guys you get it.
And in some ways the hoatzin is also a very basal bird, but even though it's nested within neo-aves, but still, so basal characteristics can also pop up in derived lineages.
Right.
Still,
but if you want it to be much more fair, you would probably look at get a duck, a chicken, and an ostrich, and that's what you would be using as your anatomical comparisons. Because you would, you want to steelman your opponent's argument. So, but instead, we're just going to go with the most unusual group of birds we can.
I can tell you this: you've never seen the knee on a living bird. In fact, you've never seen the whole femur. That's everything from the hip to the knee on a living bird. Give you a little test. Here is a ostrich, obviously. And he's a two-legged affair, and he obviously has to balance. He doesn't want to fall over frontwards or backwards. And his legs seem to be in just the right position so that there's approximately the same amount of weight.
Oh, there's another comment from me. Yes, they have knees. They're inside the body wall, unusually for a bird. But penguins are weird for birds. So, just like we said, I had already said it, apparently.
Penguins only get weirder when you consider the fact that their closest living relatives are seabirds, I think. Albatross, if I remember correctly.
I believe that group is, but then again, I mean, they're even more seabirds than the seabirds are.
Oh, I know. It's like
forward of the
weird
legs where they come out of the body and the back. But where are the knees? You're probably thinking that right about here is the knee.
You would only think that if you don't know about anatomy.
That's not the knee. It's bent the wrong way, for one thing. That's the ankle. And if that's the ankle...
Oh, I jumped in again. I have absolutely seen living bird knees. Granted, only on baby birds or birds that have had some medical problem. But yeah, I've seen them. Yeah. It's not hard to do.
It means...
I remember when I was... it's just a personal story, but I remember when I first saw, with my family, a flamingo, and they were all like, wow, the knee is on the opposite end. And I was like, oh, no, that's not the knee, that's the ankle, and the knee is a bit up. And they were a bit confused about that, but still.
It's really not hard to figure this out. Like, if you can't figure this out, I don't know what to tell you. And okay, so you guys won't be able to see it in the actual call, but I'm gonna put it up on the what do you call this? The stream, right?
Yeah.
So we're just gonna pull up an image of a featherless chicken, This chicken is this is a genetic condition, so don't worry too much about the chicken, right? But yeah, here's a chicken. That's not a knee that's inside the body wall. That's a knee that's very much outside the body wall. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a typical bird. And in fact, I even went with one of those basal birds. So yeah. While penguins are a weird exception to this rule, almost all birds have knees that are outside the body wall, and you can see them. They just have to lift their arms up or be featherless because they have obscuring feathers that make it hard to see. So I guess if you're a dummy and you don't know the difference between the body and the feathers, then that might make sense. But is Dr. Menton a dummy? Oh yeah, I guess so. He's a creationist working for AIG, so. All right, let's.
It reminds me of the classic picture of the owl, where you like pull the owl's like feathers up, and you see they just have like, these wickedly long legs.
Right. Oh, and tiny skulls. You ever see that too? Like if you take the feathers off, like if you look at a owl skull compared to the volume of their feathers, like that's all feather. Their head. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually just wild.
Yeah, a featherless owl does not look at all like an actual owl. It's crazy. All right, so here we go. Let's get a little more in here.
Here is the foot. How'd you like to buy Reeboks to fit these things?
What?
So I'll show you where the knee actually is on an ostrich. And it's right about there where we're pointing. And the dotted line represents where the femur would be inside the bird's body. There is no dinosaur put together, unless you just declare birds to be dinosaurs, and of course the whole debate collapses. You know, I could call my 2 arms legs, right? If I call my 2 arms legs, how many legs would I have? The answer is not 4, it's 2, just because you call arms legs. Doesn't make them legs. Same with birds and dinosaurs. So the femur is about where you see the dotted line, and instead of the bird balancing from the left end of that dotted line at the hip, the way a dinosaur or a human would, walking on 2 legs, it balances from the knee.
I actually want. So this is a quick thing. I don't know if I get to it in the chat or not, but as a rule, theropods balance at the knees. It's just that most non-bird theropods having long tails could shift that balance point to be more or less under part of the hip, but their typical balance point still at rest was the knee. The knee is what had to be in the, had to have the center of balance under it.
It's just where the center of mass lies, and where the center of mass lies, that's where the knees are positioned. Yep. So in theropods with long tails, the center of mass is further back, posteriorly, and so the knees are like brought further behind. So they stand up more straight to us, but still, it's not a very huge difference. Like you have those videos of like those chicks, where they crafted like a fake tail on behind, and they start to walk like non-avian dinosaurs.
Yep, it's actually pretty easy to find. You can find footage of chicks, young chickens, where they've basically taped take little wooden dowels to their rear ends, basically, and then suddenly they start walking like a dinosaur on Jurassic Park.
Yep.
And it turns out this is just perfect, because what happens is the balance has been brought from way back at the back of the bird further forward by flexing those thighs up inside the body, and so it walks from the knee on down on its
Can we pause for a minute? I hope he's not being little, like he's saying that they are inside the body, and I know that Aaron made a big deal about that too, but perhaps he meant that they're just tucked closer to the abdomen or something, but it's not inside the body. I really don't like the way he phrased that.
He means it's inside the body. He means it's inside the body, like it is on those penguins, because he's going to contrast it. He's going to contrast it with dinosaurs having them outside the body, and he's just wrong.
It's almost like he's saying that there is like a layer of skin like wrapping around the knee or something like that, but it's not.
Yeah. So what there is usually there's a little patagium. So most, and this is actually not unique to birds. Actually, we know of a lot of dinosaurs that definitely had this, and so in some cases fairly extensively. But there's basically a little flap of skin like the webbing between your fingers, or if you look at the webbing, like say unlike a golden retriever's paws, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't turn the paw into one big club of flesh, but there's a
Yeah.
skin connection between those digits, right? There's a similar skin connection between the torso and parts of the upper leg on many dinosaurs, including birds. That's why, even though if you have a dressed turkey or chicken or something that you brought home from the grocery store, you can see the knees are outside the body wall, but there is that
Yeah.
layer of skin, and if you cut off the drumstick there, when you get it, one side has tightly wrapped skin, and the other side has a little loose bit with you can just see the muscle there. That's
I
that
realized
patagium.
clearly debunk Menton with a rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, that's all it takes. Literally, all you have to do is go to the grocery store, and you can debunk Menton at this point. Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? I have pink Himalayan salt, which is impossible under the flood model. So my kitchen debunks young Earth creationism. So it's trivially easy to find something that is impossible if young Earth creationism is.
I like just plain sand also disposed. Like the way sand is eroded, like really smooth sand. That is impossible on a very young Earth because it needs to be like really finely eroded.
Oh no! God just created the sand smooth.
Dapper. I have clamshells and brachiopod shells in a plastic container to my right that I got from a hill over to the west that dates to like the Oligocene.
Oh, you mean when all the clams already were buried and sunk to the bottom according to creationism?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's look, like I said, it takes almost no effort at all to debunk young Earth creationism completely, but they just keep spewing nonsense. So
Anti-informations.
Ugly German truths. Why would it be impossible to have the pink Himalayan salt? Okay, so pink Himalayan salt is pink because of tiny microfossils in the salt, right? And it's found at elevation in the Himalayas. The reason for this is that when the Indian subcontinent and the Asian continent were coming together, for some time they formed a little inland sea that had no outlets to the larger ocean, and also had very little water coming in. So over time, it slowly started to evaporate, leaving behind what we call an evaporite deposit, right? Now, evaporite deposits have to form fairly slowly as the water slowly erodes and things that
evaporate.
Yeah, so as the waters evaporate, right, the minerals in the solution come out of solution and precipitate to the bottom. So in order to get as thick, these gigantic thick layers of pink Himalayan salt that we have, you have to have extensive and slow evaporation of water over a very long time, because water's not just going to boil away. And that's something you can't have under a flood, because there are then subsequent layers put down on top of the Himalayan pink salt. So, yeah. All you have to do is go to the grocery store and find some pink Himalayan salt. Boom. Young Earth creationism didn't happen.
And Kent Hovind goes,
Oops.
do you really believe that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, because that's basic physics and geology. Yep. So, yeah, if you've ever had some Himalayan pink salt, you've eaten proof that young Earth creationism is crap. It's just
those chips last week tasted like anti-yak.
Ever tried walking?
They
from the knee down?
taste like debunking.
Yes, they do. Man, that makes me want to go get some chips. But I'm not leaving. You know what? I haven't gone anywhere since Monday before last, and I'm not going anywhere until tomorrow. So I'm sticking to my 2 weeks.
God, no, when we finally get back the test results from my mom, maybe I'll send you some chips.
I'll disinfect them first, but thank you.
You should do that, yeah.
Yeah, definitely disinfect them first.
Toes. It's difficult. What you do is you get high on your tiptoes. You just walk on the toes if you're a bird. And by the way, the dinosaurs that walk on two legs, they walk on their toes too. In fact, your dog walks on its toes. Your cat, common. So when you're up on your tiptoes, what you do now is you bend down until your chest touches your knee. Boy, that's a tough one to get down there. At that point, your body will be parallel to the ground, and you'll be walking on your toes from the knee on down. You're probably thinking, that's not going to work. Well, it may not work for you, but when the Lord does it, when he outfits an ostrich like this, how well can they walk? Walking from their knee on down on their
Animals that habitually walk with their spine more or less orthogonal to the ground have trouble trying to walk on their toe, at or plantigrade, have trouble walking on their toes with their spine parallel to the ground. Therefore, What? Like, what is that point supposed to be? Why does anyone think that's a good point about anything? I don't get it. You have trouble doing something a radically different animal does. Oh, seriously. Yeah, checkmate science. Like, it's like saying, hey, your dog can't brachiate very well, so science is fake. Okay, sure.
Please don't try with your dog. Oh, no, don't. You will break his arms.
Like, it's so stupid.
Tiptoes. About 43 miles an hour. That would pretty much smoke any racehorse out there.
Would it?
Well, what's inside of the ostrich? How do the bones look? Let's bring them out where we can see them. And there you can see, right in that circle, we have the unusual hip bones of the bird. This hip is called a synsacrum. That means a putting together of the parts of the sacrum, a combining of parts.
Wait,
and in that hip bone...
Didn't you prove in that opening of yours that, oh hey, sauropods have those?
As do all the theropod, all the dinosaurs.
Yeah. Although I have looked up sources about the synsacrum, and some of them define it specifically as when the ischium and pubis are fused. Only then is it a synsacrum, but others, like the definition of synsacrum is really like all over the place, at least at some sources that I could find.
Yeah, it has varied over time, but the most common features usually are the fusion of the sacral vertebrae and the sacrum, and having that be at least it's not always fully fused, but it's significantly fused. That's the most common definition that I can find, and most sources on dinosaur anatomy will define a synsacrum in those terms.
But in any case, the pelvis of Archaeopteryx is more similar to like Velociraptor and even Tyrannosaurus than it is with any modern bird.
Oh yeah, much more.
Yeah.
Essentially, one bone are approximately 20 to 22 separate fused bones. These would include a vertebra as well as the ilium, ischium, and pubic bones. So everything in the circle, or most of what's in the circle, is inside the body, and we're just seeing the leg from the knee on down. In fact, if you think about it, when you eat chicken meat, and you're going to understand chicken meat, now it'll be worth the whole show for that. The drumstick would be between the knee and the ankle. The skin goes all the way around it. But that piece of meat called the thigh, that's from up inside of the bird's body. And you'll notice the skin's on only one side of that piece of meat, the thigh, because that whole femur with its muscles inside the body.
I like how he's basically telling people, hey, go to the grocery store so you can debunk me.
Oh, he is saying that it's inside, like literally inside the cavity of the torso or something, like the knee. Oh my, yeah, no.
This is an anatomist. Remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically saying like a bird's femur is like a whale's leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
Ugh.
No dinosaur like this at all. You have no trouble finding dinosaur knees. I'll show you a few. Well, I called this lecture some years ago when I first put it together without the dinosaurs. I called it Form to Fly, and I used that expression because ornithology lab guide that I had used in college many years ago, written by the great ornithologist Pettengill, he had pointed out that one recognizes birds because they're formed to fly. Everything about their body is optimized. Now, some birds fly in water, not in air. Check this bird out. He's only going to be up for a few seconds. Notice every part of his body is in motion. The tail, the head. Individual feathers are being adjusted. This is not a glider. This is a flyer. Well, this is a good place to recognize who do we have to thank for these wonderful birds.
Didn't he just point out
no
the
doubt it is our
ostrich?
Lord that we can thank.
Yeah, he did. Although, so I'm going to be fair. A lot of the adaptations to flight you can actually find in an ostrich, and they're just lost. And I don't know if creationists would say that God created flightless birds as flightless. I really don't. So
there's basically nothing on that.
Okay, when you are trying to claim that, like, for example, the ostrich is especially created apart from any other bird, and you need to explain, like, why do ostriches clearly show like adaptations towards flight that were clearly lost? Like,
yeah, it's I don't honestly know what they would say about that, and I mean, it would be a good question.
Well, maybe they will say, oh, it's a rapid loss of information after they got off the ark. Like, they used to fly, but then in about 100 years or so, they lost their ability to fly. Like,
I mean, flying ostrich would be pretty rad.
Yeah.
That would be class.
Oh, and I have in the chat, I pointed out, and of course, my comments were a bit delayed compared to the video because I had to deal with the live delay. But when he was talking about there's no dinosaur with its knees like the knees of an ostrich, I said there's no dinosaur with a patagium on the posterior medial margin of the thigh. Except for nearly all of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The Bible doesn't want you to be confused on birds right away in Genesis chapter 1, verse 20. The scripture tells us how the birds came to be. This is on the 5th day of creation. Then God said, "Let the waters abound with an abundance of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens." So when you look up in the sky, what you see is what the Bible calls a firmament, and the birds seem to fly, of course, right across the face of that. So all of the flying birds, presumably the non-flying birds as well, some birds...
Sorry.
All right, a crystal dome, the firmament.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
going to I'm opening a whole can of worms there, so I think we should continue just with this. Yeah.
Real quick, I'll just point out that, it's true. If you're going to take Genesis literally, right, like AIG says we should, the firmament isn't just the sky. It's a thing that has floodgates. It's a firmament for a reason. It's supposed to be firm. It's a dome.
They say to take the Bible literally until they take it figuratively.
Right. Basically, we're going to take it super literally until we cut to actual being flurfs.
We're
not going to quite go that far.
Like watching a traditional, typical creationist debating a flat earther who is also creationist, like literal biblical literalist, and it's really funny.
That happened on Modern Day Debate a while back. There was a young Earth creationist who debated, I think it was Nathan Thompson or something, about whether or not the Earth was flat. It was just as bad as you would expect. It was terrible. Turns out creationists are also not very good at defending the sphericity. Well, okay, I can't generalize that way. That's not fair.
Yeah, like the good creationists will just leave the Bible alone and go with reality. Yeah. But of course,
the thing is though, if you're a young Earth creationist and you're not a flat earther, you're being intellectually inconsistent, in my opinion. Like, there's no reason that you shouldn't take the floodgates and the firmament literally if you're going to take all this stuff literally. I mean, either way, if you're not, you're just going to pick and choose. And, I mean, I'll give flat earthers this. The biblical flat earthers are more serious about being literalists than most YECs are. So, good job, guys, I guess.
Also one thing about, like he said, that the Bible is clear about birds.
Erica has been kind of...
I'm sorry.
It's been hard to hear for a bit, so I want to make sure we get her in.
No. I was literally just agreeing with you guys. I mean, I think that like the fact that the hermeneutics of everything, where it's like the Hebrew word for the firmament is like rakia, which means like it has like analogies to like metal and things like that is it's pretty telling.
Yeah, it really does mean something that's solid, like a solid thing. Like you could hit it. Like if you flew high enough, you'd hit a dome.
Like you would hit basically like a glass dome or a crystal dome. It really does like make that kind of.
Well, the atmosphere needs a container, otherwise it will just go into the vacuum.
Yeah, you need a very for pressure.
Oh man!
Gravity.
We'll get a little bit more in here.
Fly in water, when you think about it. It's just a different medium. The same muscles and bone specializations required, essentially the same to swim or fly in water as to fly in air. Genesis 1 goes on to say in verse 21, "So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves with which the waters abounded according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind." So there are different kinds of birds. They're not all one kind. And in the Bible, that word kind comes from a Hebrew word, min. Basically means all creatures that are capable of interbreeding, producing offspring. That's why the Lord saw to it that at least one pair of every min, a male and a female, got aboard the ark.
Birds aren't the same kind.
It does actually also bother me that he's saying min when it's actually mean. Like, it's not... there's a yod in there for a reason. It's because the vowel is long. There, Dr. Menton.
Look, you don't expect them to be good at Hebrew.
Yeah, okay. I hate that I can't really argue with that, but it still annoys me that it's meme, yod, noon, right? The center letter is in there for a freaking reason. You can't just skip it.
Oh, or better yet, tell him that Behrman doesn't mean created kinds.
It means a kind
translate it
created.
properly.
Yeah, it means a kind created.
Yeah, also a little bit, but before, like he before said something about like the Bible is clear about what the bird is, although it's not really like of course the Bible says that bats are also birds, but of course the biblical authors didn't know how to classify life consistently. They just saw a flying thing, oh, that's a bird. Like a bat flies, oh, it's a bird. That's true.
No,
So yeah.
I want to be fair to people living, you know, at this point. There wasn't an attempt to do a systematic classification of life. Right?
I know, yeah, right.
So
yeah,
it's not
exactly.
like it's not like that was their goal. So I don't think that they're being stupid for just saying we have a word that basically means flying animal. Like, okay,
of course,
fair enough.
I am of course not. I'm not expecting the authors to be to write infallible work. I'm not the one. Yeah.
But I'm saying, even if you were going to go with the whole infallibility, I actually don't think that would be itself a great reason, because I do actually think that in a modern context, a better translation for that word would just be flying thing.
Yeah.
Or flying creature. Just because, like if you pointed out, if you came to like, you know, an ancient Hebrew with a bat and a bird, and you pointed out the differences, I'm sure they wouldn't dismiss them and say, well, those aren't interesting differences. They would probably be like, oh, those are interesting. They do seem to be very different animals, but they still fly, and so that's the word I'm going to use for them, even though they're very different. So I just think that we shouldn't import our modern systematics and our intention to be systematic with classification onto people who just did not care.
Yeah, what was a bat and what was a bird wasn't important.
Right. Most people in the ancient world were like, I need to get my crops in on time and not starve, and maybe hopefully not die of some horrible disease for which vaccines have not been invented yet, because no vaccines have been invented yet. By the way, unless you're immunocompromised or something else, go get your vaccines, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when a certain vaccine developed for a certain disease is done.
Well, hopefully that'll happen at some point. I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, you know what? I actually prefer the proper translation of Behrman over the created kind one.
Created?
I think it's more poetic.
Maybe.
A kind created. I think it's more poetic.
At least the verb is conjugated correctly.
TD.
So birds are day 5 creatures. I'd say dinosaurs are day 6 creatures because they're all terrestrial. Not that they can't wade in water once in a while, but they're a day 6 creatures. So I really believe God's word is telling us birds are not dinosaurs.
Wait, are Spinosaurs day 6 or day 5 then?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know what he would say. And also penguins. I mean, they're more secret. They certainly don't fly. They live in the sea almost all the time.
Yeah.
What about
crocodiles? Yeah.
And
what about crocodiles and the marine crocodiles?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, there's all these things that like kind of break his simple like reptiles are day whatever and birds are day what, like it doesn't actually make sense. Yeah,
of course.
Marine iguanas.
It of course goes back to like the biblical authors didn't know how to classify life in the way that we now do, so that you just say, oh, creatures that live in water, creatures that live on land, and creatures that fly. So that's everything that we know about.
Right.
Yeah.
I also point out in the chat to this original video, you know, of course I have to deal with the delay. So we said that, you know, some birds fly through the water, and I say swimming and flying aren't quite the same. That's why all the joints but the shoulder and a penguin wing are fused, not something you'd see in a flying bird. Yeah, like swimming through the air and swimming through the water, swimming through the water and flying through the air, not actually as similar as Dr. Menton would like us to believe.
Yeah.
So it's not. Penguins use a lot of the same motions that other birds do when swimming, but there's a reason that their forelimbs are so heavily modified away from the typical wing structure.
Yeah, like they fly in a way upside down, like they use lift in the opposite direction just to keep below what, otherwise they will float.
Yeah. Cormorants are much more, if I remember correctly, I think it's cormorants that actually do something that's much more like flying underwater. But most water birds, there's a reason that they use their legs to swim.
Scientifically, we can show that too. Let's look at that bone fusion. This is a chicken. A chicken has approximately 120 bones compared to our 207. So lots of bone fusion. And one place to see it is there in the hand. All those.
And I point out in the chat, What about pterosaurs? What day were they? Not that anyone's going to answer me.
No.
Because that's
Yeah.
actually one of the things that I've heard from creationists. Is like, oh, reptiles were from day whatever the land creatures are. I'm like, okay, well, what about the pterosaurs? They're reptiles.
Well, they are birds, aren't they?
Well, that's the thing. We can't find any indication in Hebrew about pterosaurs because, no Hebrew ever saw a pterosaur. So we don't know what they would say.
They did. They just call them birds.
Oh, is that what it
What
is?
about the pterosaur?
Or dragons.
Yeah, that's
Or dragons.
It's
Oh, we're
exactly.
talking over retire. What about the pterosaur that was shot down during the Civil War? Huh?
Oh man, so that's
You
one of those.
guys are freaking.
That's one of those great things where like there's a source that's sometimes given, and it's like some alleged article from 18 whatever in the Tombstone Register or something. Which, by the way, Tombstone is not that far from me. But anyway, but no one has ever actually produced a copy of that newspaper containing that article ever. There have been Photoshop versions of it, but yeah, no one's actually produced any evidence that such an article was ever written. So it seems like it's just one of those things that floats around in cryptozoological circles that there's actually no evidence for it, and they just do what creationists do, which is they just quote someone else who's quoting it, and so it's all just secondary sources, all just circling around in a big circle.
Any bones that make up our hand pretty much are reduced to sort of 3 fingers, or 2 fingers in a bird. Most of the primary flight feathers are attached to the hand here.
Oh,
the
and I also asked
secondaries are
about
attached
bats.
to the
What about
ulna
bats for
on the
that
arm.
matter?
And there's 1 finger basically like a thumb in the front part of the hand, and there are feathers attached to that. That's called the allula. And when that thumb moves forward, it creates a slot between the rest of the wing. And that slot's just like the slot you see on the wing of an airplane when it lands. It opens a slot in the front. Or you look at a sailboat, you see the jib and the mainsail. There's a slot that allows the air to come through. That increases the speed of the sailboat or reduces the stalling speed of an aircraft. So,
Except that a lot of the things that he thinks would be birds, including most of the Mesozoic birds, didn't have an allula. They just didn't.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, according to his criteria for what birds are, many of the things that he would consider a bird aren't birds because they lack those features, and instead they just have the basal dinosaur feature.
It's really a case of having your cake and eat it. Like when they will make the argument of how unique birds are, they will only look at modern birds that are very different from any of the fossil birds that we know of. But when you look at the transitional fossil birds, they will say, oh, that they are just birds, even though according to the criteria that they just explained, they are not birds.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
Let's see. 1 second. I'm just going to quickly change the title on this stream to Are Birds Dinosaurs? Batman versus Dapper Dino. Batman is a no. Oh, I should capitalize things, right?
It's a no-show.
Is a no-show. There you go.
I would have picked the title The Christian Belt.
Well,
because it's funny.
It is funny, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Can you make bad jokes?
Birds using the same principles we're using in aircraft.
I also point out in the chat, hey, 3 fingers, just like most theropods. Yeah.
Again, but if birds are specially created, why would they first start with 3 fingers and then fuse them?
Yeah,
and not just start with
Well, the other thing is, there's really no reason not to start with 1 finger that has a little funny branch, right? Because that's the thing that can actually happen. You can actually, it's a heritable birth defect in many organisms to have like fingers that will have a little side branch that comes off. You could just, if you wanted to start out completely with just the normal genetics kit that vertebrate genetics gives you, have a 1-fingered bird that just has an allula joint, and you don't have to go through the trouble of growing 3 fingers, fusing them, reducing one of them. Skip all that. Straight to 1 finger.
Yeah, everything about the bird development of the limb is just screams like a basal tetrapod, and it's just refined to be a bird. So it only makes sense under evolution, but the creation would just say, that's just how God created it, I guess.
It's almost like Von Bayer's laws of embryology are still holding and are still evidence for evolution.
You see, You see here, evolutionist.
Oh.
This is clearly too complex to evolve, so it must be designed.
It's true. Hashtag complexity is the hallmark of design.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of the other bones. The arm or the wing of the bird, apart from the hand, looks pretty standard. We have a radius and an ulna there, just like
I love how he's like, it looks pretty standard. Like you should expect there to be a standard under this design model. As if not everything should be actually designed for a purpose. It should just be jury-rigged, even if it's designed. Because that's how an all-powerful designer does things. He just kind of just throws together whatever he can get his hands on to make it work.
Look, God just made a mistake while he was really drunk after a
God had just a spare Theropod limb left, so he just removed a few fused a few fingers, and presto, there's a bird.
Yeah, and it's like, let's just go with it.
Let's go with it, yeah.
As I said, God was drunk after a Kentucky.
And then we have the humerus. And the interesting thing is the secondary feathers are only on the ulna, from wrist to the secondary flight feathers, from wrist to elbow. There are no feathers attached to the humerus. They're in the skin, but not attached to bone. Then we look at the ribs, and we see there's little struts that kind of hold the ribs together, and birds have very little movement of the ribs. That's why there's very little muscle between the ribs of a bird. If you've ever eaten chicken ribs, they're no bargain, I can tell you that. So halfway down the rib, there's a hinge in bird ribs. And so the ribs are able to move a little bit, the lower part in relationship to the upper.
Oh, and I point out, because he was talking about the outer arm and the secondaries there. And I say, oh yeah, Quill's on the ulna. Like they leave quill knobs on the bone, and you find them on dinosaurs like Velociraptor, which is a good point. You actually find them in a lot of... not even Maniraptorans, like you get them in a lot of like Maniraptoriforms, like Therizinosaurs. You'll even get little quill knobs, and they're always, I guess I can't say always, but they're consistently very even rows of evenly spaced quill knobs. And the thing is, you can say, oh, but that's not evidence that there was a quill there. It's like, okay, but it's the same thing as like a muscle attachment scar for like a bicep. You know there's a bicep there, because it's stupid for you to have the muscle attachment scars and therefore not to have been a muscle. Like, why would that be the case? It makes no sense.
In his image, also try to address the quill knobs thing, and in one species, like in I think how do you pronounce it? Incovenator, I think, right?
You might have to type it.
There is one basal dinosaur that also has quill knob, although it's disputed, but not in other dinosaurs. Their quill, like Velociraptors, their quill knobs are like a pretty solid.
The Velociraptor quill knobs are
evenly spaced, but he tried to spin it as not evenly spaced.
No,
even though they are. Yeah.
I mean, there might be taphonomic artifacts that make them seem slightly less even, like if there's some bone crushing or compression or something. But those are things that you can look for. You can tell when there's taphonomic artifacts. Like, for instance, one of your favorite ones, Erica, is the when creationists complain about the reconstructed hip bone on Lucy. Yeah. Whereas, like, if you don't reconstruct it, it goes like past the center line of the body. That's not how bones work. Like, that's not how a pelvis works.
Yeah, so the thing, sorry for being kind of quiet on the stream, there's some weird delay with my mic, so like I feel like when I talk, I'm like interrupting everybody, so I'm just enjoying listening and kind of getting an education on some of the more dinosaurian aspects of paleontology. But you're absolutely right, because there's this whole phenomena, it turns out, very shocking absolutely everyone, that you can come up with a decent musculature and like overall like musculoskeletal system for a dead animal if you have enough bones because of muscle attachment sites. Like, it's not just guesswork.
You know what I mean? The best thing about like what they make the mistake when they address quill knobs, like by looking at one species, or genus rather, with fossils that has some dispute about the quill knobs, is that doesn't apply to every last fossil of quill knobs.
Yeah. So it's we'll keep going.
Oh, so go, yeah.
But the upper part of the ribs where they attach to the vertebra, there's no movement. And so when we breathe, our chest cavity gets bigger and smaller. But with birds, that's not possible, which is one of the interesting differences. This is that sensacrum we were talking about earlier, the fusion of about 20 to 25 bones in the pelvis. Notice right there in that oval window is a keel. And not many...
All right, so I want to point out that we've already talked about the sensacrum and how if you're gonna be super like, it has to be extremely bird-like to count as a synsacrum, which by the way you shouldn't, because that's not a normal definition as far in my book at least. The keeled sternum is another one of those things where, like, by that definition, many of the things that AIG has always considered to be birds, like Archaeopteryx, not birds according to this. If they need to have a keeled sternum, then some modern birds aren't birds. So,
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's just crazy. Like, you're picking. He's basically just going through, like, what are the most derived features that are common in birds? Not even universal in birds, just common. And then we're going to point out how weird they are. It's like, yeah, they're derived. What about all of those basal features that birds retain from dinosaurs? We're not going to talk about any of those? No? Like, what's that antorbital finesser doing in your very own picture? What's up with that? Why's it got that? I don't know. He doesn't know. He probably can't. He probably doesn't even know what an antorbital finesser is because he can't point it out as a supposed difference between dinosaurs and birds.
Yeah.
Right.
Creatures have a keel. When you see a
Actually, I just thought of a good way to sum it up. The question isn't what do birds have that dinosaurs don't. It's what do dinosaurs have that birds don't. And there's really not very many things you can list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and anything you can.
Then they will say like, "Oh, a sauropod is very different from my bird."
Yeah.
Thank you, Kent.
Yep. Goodness.
Like anything they'll point out that, like, oh, dinosaurs have but birds don't. If you go back to para-aves and such and stem birds, you'll find that there are features in those that are missing in later birds that dinosaurs had, but the creationists accept those as birds. So
yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's like with the hominid series, right? There's no consistent place to draw the line, so they just draw it in places that don't actually make sense if you sit down and think about it. But if they don't draw it somewhere that's earlier than Homo sapiens, then they have to really, really deal with all these things that look pretty darn human-like, like Homo neanderthalensis and Homo heidelbergensis and Homo erectus, and it's like they got to draw it somewhere, and it's got to be before those, because otherwise, why are there all these obviously human-looking things that you're not claiming to be human? So
well, that's exactly it. And with the theropods and the birds, it's the same thing. If you ask 20 creationists, you'll get 20 different lines drawn in different places. It's the same with the hominids.
Yeah. Like one of the most telling excuses I've ever heard is when they cannot deny that these transitional exist and that they really transition between the gap, between the space between the two ends. Like they will say, oh well. God just created these, like God created many different creatures, and some of them just happen to look exactly like the transitional fossils that you expect them to be there.
Like an amphibious assault vehicle.
Yeah.
Assault vehicle.
And we have a $5 super chat from Vandalia 1998, who starts out, by the way, with the brand new Mothra emoji.
Oh man, we have that?
Oh, we do have that. We got the Mothra emoji, which means
very nice.
I need to figure out what my next emoji is going to be because, I mean, hey, get enough channel members, we get another one. So, he says Mothra emoji.
Rodan.
Yeah, I could add Rodan. Yeah, that's like the trio, right? The main three, the big three.
How about a ornithischian one? Because nobody wants to add ornithischian emojis to the official emoji list on any site.
We could add like a Stegosaurus or something.
Yeah.
All right. We could take a little bit of a break from kaiju to add an ornithischian, maybe. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll have a poll or something. I don't know. But anyway, Vandalia 1998 says for $5, a Mothra emoji. Gotta get ready to work. So see y'all later, and hopefully see all of you August 3rd for my Arc Bottleneck podcast with Jackson. So yeah, there you go. Check that out.
You love Vandalia. I gotta come back to you, Dapper.
All right. So you're gonna get out of here too. Well, actually, we're probably not going to go a whole lot longer.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Well, you have a good, what is it, evening there or something?
Yeah, unfortunately. That's why I'm leaving so I can go make dinner.
Bye.
Well, make something delicious.
Feel bad. I will.
Food.
Feel bad for me.
All right.
Guys. Oh, before I go, I see 47 watchers and only 45 likes. So get on it.
Uh-oh. Some of you guys are slacking off.
That
Yeah.
sounds like heresy to me.
All right, bye.
Stop slacking, guys.
It's actually a pretty good ratio.
All right.
Give the Dapper his due.
Exactly. Give me all the likes. Shower me with
Give
likes.
him the thumbs.
Yep. All right, we're gonna go. We're probably gonna go until like my next comment on the video, and then we'll stop. And then maybe if people like this, I can do it another time. We can pick back up, and we'll see who wants to hop on, whatever. But
Keel on a skeleton, a flat plate like that, it's an attachment for very powerful muscles.
yes,
And
it
we
is.
do indeed have powerful muscles that attach. Chickens don't have anywhere near as powerful muscles attached there as, say, a swift or a hawk or something like that. But
Oh, yep, and I point out, oh yes, the sin sacrum is a diagnostic feature of dinosaurs. Yeah. So we have $2 reduce from John Rapp, which says one for creationist genealogical refraction. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I think we're also going to start. We're going to really call it there. We almost hit the 2 hours. It's actually we went longer than I actually was expecting to go. Once the actual
Oh, we
debate
got
was clear.
$10 super chat from Fromula.
We did. We did get a
Yeah,
$10.
you
So
want to read that?
absolutely, it's $10 from Thronmulus. Told you I would make it worth your time. Have a good rest of your day, Mac. Thank you very much, man. And in case you guys don't know, Thronmulus was on Leaving on Earth Creationism, I think last week. Was it last Saturday? I think it was. So, thank you very much, Thronmulus. All right, so we'll get a quick little bit of channel news, and then I'll let everyone say their piece, and then I will thank all of our super chatters once more, and then we'll be out of here. So, oh, look at that. Now we have more likes than chatters. This is awesome. So let's see. Tuesday, it should be Kent with Bent, unless something happens, like, I don't know, Bent can't make it or something, in which case we might go to an Eric with Erica. I also want to say now that I am thinking about making, actually, myself, Erica, and Bent are all thinking about making every second Tuesday of the month an Eric with Erica. Let me know if you think that sounds like a good thing to do.
I think it's a good idea.
Fair enough. We would have to find more Eric Hoban videos, but it's not like there's a dearth of those on the internet, so we can probably find plenty. And also having it be an earlier time of the day. So we would probably do something more like 3 p.m. Eastern, like a noon Pacific sort of thing. Yeah, so if that seems like something you guys would like to see on a sort of monthly basis, is an Eric with Erica, in lieu of on that Tuesday a Kent with Bent, then let me know. I think it'll be fun. It also will mean that our given time slot of Tuesday, especially then, there's a lot of different things that seem to go on every time that happens on that Tuesday, that a lot of my audience wants to see all of it, and they can't see all of it live. So I'm trying to take the pressure off of you guys, basically, to split views. So, I don't currently have a Gutsick Gibbon emoji. That's a good point, Icarus. Maybe we should get one of those.
Actually, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. It's something that we can put a poll up for. I'll try to remember what the different things that what the suggestions have been. So I think what I'll put up there is Rodan, Eudora, Ornithischian, Gutsick Gibbon are the four big things as the suggestions for the next emoji. And you don't have to be a member to vote on that poll, because maybe if your thing wins, you'll become a member. I don't know. Feel free to be a member, or don't.
Ooh, if Ornithischian wins, can we do a second poll on what Ornithischian it's done?
Maybe, or maybe I'll just poll my patrons.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that one would be a patron poll.
Yeah. All right. So Thursday is going to be, unless I get a whole lot of work done on the Speculative Evolution project, which I'm probably not going to get enough done, it'll probably be the first episode of Creationism is a Mega Catastrophe, which is going to be a geology-focused series centering around a talk given by Tasman Walker in 2015 in Seattle. And then I have no idea what's happening next weekend. So
I know a bit about what that series is going to be because me and Colton are playing on.
Perhaps you could shorten the title with "Creationism is a mega catastrophe."
flood geology is a mega catastrophe.
I mean, all of it's
Megatastrophe.
Megatastrophe. Well, the reason I went with mega catastrophe is because that's part of the title of Tasman Walker's original speech that he gives. So, anyway, that is it for channel news. So we're gonna start at the top and work our way down. Dakota, got anything for us?
No, thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for being here, man. All right, and then I'm going to just remove him from the stream. Get out of here. All right, T. Lane, what you got?
Nothing much other than thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, bye then. Nelson 20, what you got?
Well, I recently made I don't do a lot of my channel, but I recently made a video where I outline my experience with Study for Truth and Raw Math. Like they made a video a year ago, and I pointed out some mistakes, but then the video got taken down and a new video got uploaded where the mistakes were edited out, and nothing was said about the mistakes.
Yeah, I watched that video.
Yes? Oh, right, thank you. So, in that video, Raw Math made a claim that humans don't have 3 inner ear bones, which was really stupid, and that got edited out. Jesus Christ, yeah. So if you haven't watched that, watch that. So just to see how dishonest they really are, like it's astonishing, I think.
That reminds me. So we're probably at some point going to start looking at the quote-unquote books that the Standing for Truth crew has published.
Oh my god.
And they're, I don't want it to be a spoiler, but let's just say that they are incompetent both in the science and presentation and basic use of the English language.
Yeah, I am of course Dutch. My English is not my native language, and I am really shocked that I don't even write that badly in English. So it's really.
I mean, you clearly speak better English than they can write. Like it's not even a contest.
It's not a high bar to pass. So I don't take it as a compliment.
Yeah. Well, it's not really a compliment. It's just a fact that your English is far better. At least your spoken English is far better than their written English. Their editor was Faithful, Honest, and True, aka Jason, and I honestly think that he might have neurological problems as a result of drug abuse, and yet he's their editor. So, yeah. Anyway. All right, thank you very much, Neslick20, but I gotta get you out of here.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I just want to give one final thank you to all the people who helped support the channel today through the Super Chats, including Corporal Anon, Anamorphic Mind, Vandali1998, Josiah Hansen, Mothra J Disco, TD Lane, Jerry Pena, and John Rapp, and Thronmulus. So thank you again so much. It really does mean a lot to me. It is not an easy thing to try and do YouTube as your income, and it really does help immensely because YouTube pays kind of crappy most of the time. So thank you very much. I hope to see you all on Tuesday for another Kent with Bent, and that's it from me.